The Billionaire's Wife and the Driver. Hi, I'm Claudia Kohler. I'm 32 years old, and this is my story. It's not the kind of tale you'd expect from someone who once lived in a world of private jets, sparkling chandeliers, and designer gowns. My life seemed perfect to outsiders, a fairy tale of wealth and luxury. But the truth? My gilded life was a prison, and the man I called my husband, Wilhelm Kohler, was the warden. Wilhelm was everything the world admired: a billionaire, a business genius, and a man who turned every deal into gold. But behind closed doors, he was cold and cruel, especially to me. He never missed a chance to belittle me, often in front of our staff. I remember one particular night when we were hosting a grand party. My dress, a deep red gown I adored, earned me a cutting remark from him. "Trying too hard to impress someone, Claudia," he said, loud enough for everyone to hear. I felt my cheeks burn with humiliation as his words echoed in the grand hall. But one pair of eyes didn't look at me with pity or judgment that night. Fabian Weiss, our driver, stood quietly in the corner, his gaze soft and filled with something I hadn't seen in years: understanding. Fabian was in his late 20s, tall and unassuming, with a quiet demeanor that contrasted sharply with Wilhelm's arrogance. He wasn't just my driver. He was the one constant in my life who treated me like a human being. It all began one rainy afternoon. I was returning home after another charity gala where Wilhelm had ignored me completely. As Fabian drove through the storm, I couldn't hold back my tears any longer. "Are you all right, Mrs. Kohler?" he asked, his voice hesitant yet kind. "I'm fine," I lied, my voice trembling. But Fabian didn't believe me. He pulled the car over to the side of the road and turned to face me. "Sometimes it's okay not to be fine," he said softly. His words broke something inside me. I poured my heart out to him, telling him about my loveless marriage and Wilhelm's constant cruelty. Fabian listened, his blue eyes filled with compassion. "You deserve better," he said, and for the first time in years, I believed it. Our conversations became more frequent, and with every passing day, I found myself drawn to Fabian. He was kind, humble, and genuine, everything Wilhelm wasn't. He would share stories of his modest upbringing and his dreams of opening his own car repair shop someday. One evening, after Wilhelm had publicly humiliated me at dinner, I found myself walking into the garage where Fabian was cleaning the car. I couldn't stop myself. "Do you ever wonder what it's like to be free, Fabian?" I asked. He looked at me for a long moment before replying. "Every day." That night, under the dim light of the garage, our connection deepened. It started with a shared glance, then a touch of hands, and finally, a kiss that made my heart race like never before. For months, Fabian and I lived in the shadow of secrecy, stealing moments of happiness wherever we could. But secrets can only remain hidden for so long. One fateful night, Wilhelm returned home unexpectedly early. He found Fabian and me sitting in the garden, our laughter echoing through the night air. The sight of us together sent him into a rage. "How dare you?" he bellowed, his voice shaking the walls. "With my driver, of all peoples?" I stood my ground. "Yes, Wilhelm. With Fabian. Because he treats me with respect, something you've never done." Wilhelm's face turned red with fury. "You'll regret this, Claudia. I'll destroy him and you." But Wilhelm wasn't the invincible man he pretended to be. His empire was crumbling, and I knew his threats were hollow. What I didn't know was that Fabian had been quietly gathering evidence of Wilhelm's illegal dealings, proof that would bring his empire crashing down. "Why didn't you tell me?" I asked Fabian when he revealed the files. "Because I didn't want to drag you into it," he said. "But now, it's the only way to protect us." When Wilhelm tried to use his power against us, Fabian's evidence went public. Overnight, Wilhelm's empire fell apart, and the man who had once controlled my life was left powerless. Fabian and I left the city and started a new life together in a small town. He opened his dream repair shop, and I found joy in running a little cafe. Our life wasn't luxurious, but it was ours, built on love, trust, and respect. Every night, as we sat under the stars, Fabian would take my hand and say, "We've finally found freedom." And he was right. For the first time in my life, I was truly free.